Welcome to the Station Podcast with Rachel Bowman and Michelle Wheelis.
Welcome back to the Station Podcast. We took a little break over the winter, and now we're back with a new vision for where we want to go with this season of our podcast. Rachel, would you like to share a little bit about what that's going to look like?
Yeah. I'm excited about the 2026 season because God's really led us in a new direction. And we're calling this year the year of vision carriers. So we decided on the Station Podcast that we're going to be interviewing different people throughout the year on this podcast. And each episode, you're going to get to hear a story about people that have carried vision in their life that the Lord put in their heart. And there's going to be such beautiful stories shared and a lot of wisdom to share with you so that all of you who listen can actually learn how to become vision carriers or even understand more of God's perspective on being a vision carrier. And we thought today we would actually start with us, Pete and I, and Michelle's going to ask us some questions about how we have been carrying vision with the station. And because this is such a huge part of our lives, this is what we do at the station. We teach people how to carry vision, and they're connecting to the purpose God has for their life. And so we thought we'd start with our story. And so I'm going to let you ask us the questions today, Michelle.
Yeah, I'm very excited because I love you both. And it's been over 10 years now that you've been part of my life. And I feel like there are certain aspects to your life that people don't know the answers to, I guess, of like how things got started. I know you share a lot with different ministries, but I think having like all the answers in one place for people to be able to find is really important. Sure. But I will start off by asking just what is the vision that you believe God has for your lives?
Sure. Would you like me to go?
Sure.
I think, too, I don't know if we have ever introduced Pete on the Station Podcast.
This is Peter Bowman.
This is my husband, Peter Bowman, and I've talked about him in various episodes. And Pete and I have carried vision together because we're married. And actually, in 2 weeks, we'll be married 31 years. So we have learned how to carry vision together, vision that God's put in our hearts. So Pete and I would say, are visionaries. And I think he's more of a visionary than I am. But I think you've taught me how to be a visionary. But our main vision for our lives together, and we each have individual visions too, which is totally cool. But our vision together is truly for the station, this nonprofit organization where we really believe in raising the foundations in a young generation of people and then releasing their dreams. God releases their dreams. And you guys have heard our vision statement, raising foundations, releasing dreams in a young generation. And so our vision is very connected to coming alongside individuals in the young generation and mentoring them and helping connect them to God's heart for them, showing them how to walk with Jesus so they get to a point where they actually start to learn to recognize the vision for their personal lives. And so, and again, that's why we decided we'd start the first episode of 2026 with us talking about our vision. And that's the vision for our life. We want to see people carry vision in their life well. We want to see them connect to God's heart so they follow the call of God on their lives because God has a huge call on all our lives. He wants us to raise foundations in many generations, but he wants us to make disciples of all nations. He wants people to know the gospel. He wants people to know how to walk with him in relationship with Jesus. And so our heart and vision is that, coming alongside the young generation so they learn how to do that and do it well and not give up. Yep. Do you have anything to add to that?
I'm sure I will.
Okay.
How did this vision like come about in your marriage, or how did you seek God out to find this vision?
Sure. Well, I would say that we prayed a lot. a lot. When we first got married, we just had a heart for young people, but we also coming out of our, teenage years, our young adult years, and God actually rescuing us from things that we were stuck in as young adults, where there was cracks in our life foundation, but then we saw God come and heal us and save us, showed us that it's possible for everyone to be healed and saved by Jesus. And so there was definitely a fire, like a spark that God started from just our salvations, but also just our healing and the freedom that we gained from the Lord when he encountered us in our early 20s, both of us. And so I would say that was probably the start of the Lord just stirring vision into our hearts to reach the young generation, so no one else would actually get stuck like we did in our early 20s, or get sucked up into things that weren't healthy for their lives. And so then I would say, like, after we got married, we just started looking for opportunities to work with youth and young adults. And we did that through our church, and then even more stirred in our hearts. And God reminded me of a dream that he dropped in my heart to run a camp when I was given that scholarship when I was 13 years old to a Christian camp. And I know in our first season of the podcast, I share that story, and I'm not going to go into that today, but the vision did start with, we're going to run a youth camp where kids are going to come and they're going to encounter the love of God. And our vision statement was forever changed, never the same, because they were going to come and be forever changed. And they'd never be the same again once they encountered the love of Jesus. And he would start a healing process in their lives. Now, what has led us to the new vision statement, raising foundations and releasing dreams in a young generation, was truly actually our camp staff. Because we realized as we were like evangelizing and sharing the gospel and loving campers with the love of God, we were coming alongside our station, the station camp staff, and we were discipling them and mentoring them. And we were getting to know them on a deeper level, and we were getting to hear about the traumas in their lives and the cracks in their life foundations. So God really made it clear that was also part of the vision he had for both Pete and I, was to really come alongside and disciple and mentor people in their, 18 to early 30s, all these camp staff that came through. And so then when the camp ended in 2018, we didn't actually know where God was taking us. And it took a few years for God to really share. And it started with me. Like, I got the vision statement, raising foundations, releasing dreams in a young generation. And then God started to show me so clear, like, what that was going to look like through mentorship with young adults. And so I would say, like, it was a lot of praying and a lot of time in the presence of God, just trying to hear the voice of God to gain his clear vision for me, and then for us, and for the station as a nonprofit organization. So, and then I'll let Pete add to that for him.
As you were talking, I just was thinking about really where does the core issue of where does a vision come from? And I actually, while we can say it's all these things, and I think that's really important, I think what's more important is what does your heart burn for, right? And you probably have heard the statement that if you enjoy your job, you don't work. You don't just go to get a paycheck. It's because you enjoy what you're doing. And I think vision is exactly the same way. If your heart is on fire for what God's put into you, it's really impossible not to carry the vision. It's really, so then it's just about how do you partner with God through it? How do you go through the ups and downs, and, from that point of view. So, for us, I think, again, our heart burns for the young generation because of the things that can happen and the things that the enemy, really sends at them to take them down. So, for me, when you look at it from that perspective, there's nothing else we can do but to show up, right? But to do what we're doing. And that doesn't mean there's not hard times. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have trials and tribulations. But as those things come, that's where it always goes back to, well, why are we doing it? Well, our heart burns for it. So then, to be honest, to be a vision carrier for me is all about then, where's your identity? How do you work on your identity so that as things are coming at you that say, you're not good enough to even do these things, or you shouldn't do these things, or hey, who do you think you are that you can carry this vision? It goes back to your identity of like, who does God say I am, and how do we deal with those things, and how do we have people around us so that we can carry the vision well? And I think that's really goes back to raising foundations and releasing dreams is truly, there's so many people that have a bleeding heart and they burn for something, and then it's about how do you help them to know what the team is that they need to be around them, what is their identity and who God has called them to be, and then helping them to release those dreams.
Yeah. So I think for us, like, God had us visit our identity too, because like you asked, like, how did we really catch this vision, and then what do we do at first? First steps, I mean, prayer, like I mentioned, but then like he's mentioning identity. And I believe while we ran the camp for 10 years in Mammoth, God was working on my identity and Pete's identity. Because even though we had gone through healing and we're definitely set free by Jesus from our past, our teenage years, and the hard things we went through then and in our early young adult years, college years, we had all this freedom, but we didn't completely understand the empowerment of the Holy Spirit in our lives and who God said we were. And then all of a sudden, we're placed in leadership positions to run a camp and run a staff. And it was so much, and I just call that decade our boot camp. And that's actually when I really believe God was showing us how to be vision carriers, truly. Yeah, just because we had the vision doesn't mean we knew how to carry it well, or even have the resilience to carry it. And he had to really work on our identities. Yeah.
I could just end it right there. That was just so solid.
Oh.
I think this kind of goes along with what you were saying, but were there moments where you felt underqualified or unprepared, and how did God meet you there, like in practical ways?
Yeah. Well, I know for me, like I had been doing like youth and college ministry at our churches as a volunteer. And then I had this college degree in business and kinesiology mostly. And I was a teacher, like, and a coach in my young years. But then I had been a stay-at-home mom. And then all of a sudden I'm thrown into being a mentor, discipler, ministry leader, a boss. And then on top of it, we're running a nonprofit organization. So I'm a nonprofit founder. I'm a director of a camp, and we're running weddings at the ranch. And we have a horse boarding facility there too, because it was a ranch. And it was so much just thrown on our plates all at once. And then we're in construction mode and having to build a nonprofit and a business that was a camp, and understand so much knowledge with that. It felt overwhelming. And for me, like I would say, like I didn't understand my capacity at the time, and I didn't understand my authority that God was handing me. And with that meant I didn't understand the power in my voice, even in a young generation, to be honest. And I wanted so badly just to be everyone's friend, our staff, especially our camp staff. And so for me, that was so hard, because through the 10 years, God like had to really define again my identity, but also show me my voice and my authority through him, Jesus, in my life. And it felt like I was almost like an imposter. Like I was like, I don't know if I can do this. There were so many times I was like, it was so hard on an emotional level for me, because I didn't want to be the bad guy. I wanted to, again, be the friend, and I just wanted to really minister to people. And it felt sometimes like I just wasn't capable of doing all of that all at once. It just felt like a lot. Yeah.
I mean, again, for me, it comes all back to identity. And so from an identity point of view, it would be really that the enemy's going to come and say, oh, you're not good enough, or who do you think you are that you should be doing this, or, hey, there's not even enough funds to do the dream. Why are you even trying? Why don't you just give up? I mean, we could just keep going through them and just saying, what are all the lies that are being spoken? And then really, you would think, okay, we get through that one, and you go, okay, I thought I dealt with that, and now I know who I am and my identity again. And it's like then some other, I call it a use case, but some other event will come, and you're like, I thought I dealt with that one, but this one triggered something else that from that lie. And I think it's so much is about what's coming up and why do you ever doubt? And it's the doubts that really it goes back to vision carrying, but it's also identity. How do you do it with God? Is the only way you're going to overcome those is really with God. I mean, there's no other way to overcome the lies on your own strength. And so, for me, it's always about how do I do that with God, and who does the Father say I am, and how is Jesus helping me? How do we love through this? How do we do all these things to the best of our ability, and even knowing that we're gonna come up short, but that doesn't mean that the lies that that are being spoken, or the untruths, they hurt. Whether those, because sometimes untruths are even spoken by other people, right? And so you have, not only do you have it coming just in your thoughts in your head, you have it coming from people, and you have it, and all these different angles that are coming at you. And often, I mean, we want not to give up, but I would say that it was really cool that rarely would Rachel and I be down at the same time. Yeah. It would be like she was down and I'd be up, and I'd be down and she'd be up, and we could carry each other in that way and remind each other, well, this is who God says you are. This is the vision we have in the camp. Here's what we're doing. Yeah. I only remember really one time that we were both kind of down together. Mm-hmm. And it was really hard. I mean, it was difficult when you don't have somebody, next to you that you can remind you of the promises and remind you of the truth and remind you who God says you are. So again, I'm going to really everything really is going to keep centering for me around identity and how we show up.
Yeah. Everything flows out of that. With that said, you guys have lived out the true importance of what it is to partner with each other in vision. Yeah. Can you expand more on that? When we talked a lot about how when you might not have a vision of your own, seeing the people around you and what they're going for, like in the visions that God has for them, mm-hmm. and partner with them. Mm-hmm. Can you expand more on the importance of partnering with someone and being there? Yeah. Because I do think it's important to not try to go at these things alone.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I don't believe God says you're going to carry the vision all by yourself. And I think a lot of Moses, when God said, you're going to go help my people get set free from Egypt. And Moses was kind of freaking out because he said he didn't speak eloquently. But then God's like, I'll have a helper for you. Your brother Aaron's going to go with you. And I just thought that was really cool of God, because he's just like, no, you don't have to go alone. I mean, God is always with us. But there's something very beautiful about team and partnership in carrying vision. And I know for me how cool it was to watch how God came and showed me the gifts I had when we started the camp and the gifts he had. And the truth is, without the two of us, I don't believe the station would have existed as a camp or made it through all the years God wanted it to be there as a camp, because we each carried very different giftings. And so when you're carrying vision in your life, you need to surround yourself with people that have a variety of giftings that complement one another. People can bring their gift to the table to help you carry the vision. And then you need, like Pete was saying, these voices of truth that are going to remind you, people that will be authentic and real with you, so that you don't actually lose sight of the clear vision God's given you, because there's distractions along the way too. And I know for Pete and I, like he mentioned, we had to remind each other of our why. Why are we doing this vision? Remind each other that we've got this, but God has it really, and then remind each other of the truth. And then for us too, not just the two of us, we had to learn what it looked like to build healthy team around us. That was something we learned in our boot camp for 10 years. We didn't know how to build healthy team around us. And we had to learn again. I know for me, I had to learn my voice with the team around us, so that I wouldn't, even on the days that I would doubt, or question what we were doing in carrying this vision called the station camp, I had to make sure that I wasn't bringing the team down with me in my doubts. I had to learn how to rally and inspire the team around us, but we needed a strong, healthy team around us. And I just believe that that is God's heart for carrying vision. I really do. Yeah. You have any thoughts?
Not that I want to challenge you, but I think I would say that I think for Moses specifically, when he said that he needed Aaron, it was because he had an identity issue yet again.
Sure. Yes.
And so, yes, I think he brought
Yes.
Aaron as a helper, but at the same time, it was an identity issue because he thought he wasn't good enough.
And I think, too, like with what you're saying, because I agree with you, I think because Moses was still learning his identity,
I agree.
he needed Aaron to be with him because, again, he didn't feel like he had authority and he wasn't powerful. And I think when you have a partner and you have a good team around you, they will speak. A healthy, good team and good partners will speak to who you really are and who God really says you are, right? Yeah, but go ahead.
I think, though, I mean, the question you had, though, Michelle, is how do you kind of join somebody else's vision? And I think that we kind of have to look at it, I think, a bit differently, is it's not just joining a vision because you like the vision, right? Because then it's just a job.
Yeah.
I think it's, again, it should be aligned, and the things that when you're joining somebody's vision, it should be something, again, your heart burns for.
Yeah.
And it's really, I think it's
sure.
God interweaving you into that vision with what you're carrying and what you're bringing to it, because again, if it's just, I don't have anything better to do, that's actually, I'm going to tell you, I don't think it's helpful for anybody
to go along and be like, I'm just going to help you.
Right.
Because I don't have anything. I think more for like you haven't sought out or haven't heard from God a specific vision that you need to go out and start yourself.
Again, to carry, but I again think that for the ones, or at least for us, when we'll call it healthy team, it's really weaving people in that their heart burned for the young generation.
Yeah.
Because then, again, it's either, I mean, you know this, nonprofit work, it's not like it pays really well.
Right.
And so, and that's really not why you're going into it. And I think it's you're being weaved into it because it's your passion, right? And you actually have to do it, right? And it's not have to because you have to, but it have to because you get to, because your heart burns for it. And I think that's what I would highly recommend for those is don't just go to because you think it's cool or you like the people like that. I think it's really about what has God deposited in your heart, and how, and what is He calling you to do to weave, and what can you bring into that, and how do you serve it with the gifts that He has given you, and does your heart really burn for it?
Yeah. That's good. What do you think? How do I want to phrase this? You've dealt with a lot of people over the years.
Yeah.
Like people who have come and volunteered or worked for you, and then even just partnering together.
Yeah.
What's your process when you don't necessarily see eye to eye on things with people? Like I would say specifically someone who's like partnering with you in that. So like if there's times where like you guys have not seen eye to eye, what's your process for going about that?
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I mean, for Pete and I, I'll just speak to that first, in marriage and then carrying a vision together. We had to really work on our communication with each other. And I still think, I mean, again, we're almost 31 years married in a couple weeks. There's still times where like I don't hear what he's really saying, or he doesn't hear what I'm really saying, but then we have to work even harder at learning to hear what each other is saying. I think the biggest part is fighting for the unity at all cost. Like a unified, mighty force for God on earth that is carrying a vision together, that fights for that unity. Honestly, it's so powerful. But that's the one thing the enemy, and I hate to give credit to the enemy, wants to come against is unity. So it's, whether it's in partnership or it's a whole team of people, it's being so steadfast in, we will fight for the unity, even if we have to talk about this subject over and over and over again. And even if we have to consistently over and over and over again, lay down the right to be offended and come to places of compromise. And it's, the whole topic in our Christian world of dying to ourselves actually happens the most in partnership with people, in being part of teams of people, and in carrying vision of the Lord. Because again, the enemy doesn't want us to carry vision well. And if he can divide a team of people that are doing incredible thing for Jesus, then the vision won't be carried and it will die. And so we have to really anchor ourselves into the fact that we are to fight for unity at all cost, and talk through even though it's hard, confrontation isn't easy. I know it's not. People shy away from it. But that's how you build authentic, real relationship. And that's how you learn to really love people, even in their mess. And even when you don't agree with what they're doing or what they're saying, like, you learn to really love them and fight for that love in your heart, and really seek out how God sees them too, and ask prayer. I mean, I will always go back to prayer too, because prayer precedes everything, and prayer connects us to the heart of God too for people, and keeps us loving people. Yeah.
I also think that you have to create your lanes, we want to call them that, and you have to have actually think about, what lane do I own, and then basically in that lane, who's leading. I think what creates confusion is if we both think we're leading in the same lane,
right?
Then as much as we would like to be unified, there's still something that needs to change. Somebody has to make a decision, and I think that within that, you have to really define sometimes the lane and who's making the decision in that lane.
Sure.
Then yes, you can have disagreements, but it's okay, because quite frankly, you own the lane and you own the mess. I mean, and I could disagree with certain things, but I didn't have to clean up that mess, because that was the way she wanted to maybe run something, right? And at the same time, so I think we were pretty good, and maybe it happened naturally for us, but I think if we were looking back, we all had different lanes, and we knew how to actually then empower the people in those lanes as well.
Yeah, we definitely, I would say Pete and I really understood our role when we ran the camp. For me, it was a lot more like managing the team, where he was really in the background setting structure and building and keeping the vision moving forward. Like, he was really good at building momentum and taking care of infrastructure, even maintenance issues on the property, and he just really did the business side so well. And then for me, it was more, I'm with the team and I'm right with them, running the race with them, empowering them, discipling them. So I really agree with you on understanding your lanes. And
that's good.
Yeah.
I had a question for you though, Michelle. You've been with us a decade. So what did you learn during that time, and how did you weave into carrying the vision with us, and why?
I think when I first moved to Mammoth and joined the station team, I was challenged a lot and basically triggered a lot into a lot of healing and figuring out my identity. And I think that has been a big burning of my heart, is people, specifically like young women, but people figuring out their identity and not being trapped in lies that the enemy or our own minds will throw at us. I think I just did a lot of work in that area, and a specific turning point memory for me was the summer that the camp actually closed. And Sierra, their daughter, and I went on a hike to Duck Pass, which was where they took all of the backpacking trips. And I was always stuck in this lie that I wasn't a good hiker. I didn't like hiking. And I made it to the top. And it was like a moment of like, oh, wow. Like, I've been stuck in this lie for so long. And this place is like so beautiful. And this whole process was so beautiful. And I can do hard things. And it was just a cool moment of almost living out how the kids must have felt when they made it to the top.
Yeah.
And I think just that was just like, that like what the station was doing was so beautiful, and helping people realize they can do hard things, and figuring out their real identity in God. And so just since then, knowing that that's like the point of like raising foundations, is getting solid in your identity and who God says that you are.
Right.
I think that's been what keeps me coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah, they moved away from Mammoth and I followed them.
She did. Yeah, to Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
And as we relaunched the station 3 years ago. Yeah.
You know, as you're talking there, the thing that I'm kind of reminded of back to vision and how we carry it, though, is really, I believe that the things that you overcome, or even that you deal with, but then overcome, are also the things that you get to bring to others.
Yeah.
And I think that back to how do you become a vision carrier is looking at the areas of your life and where did you partner with God to overcome the lies of the enemy that have tried to take you down and tell you you're less than. And then it's really about how do you spread that to other people so they can have that same freedom.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, again, if we can keep coming back to this theme, it's going all the way back to identity, all the way forward to bring vision forward, and then looking for people that you can partner with that are actually doing the same thing so you can and then do it together. And maybe you don't have to pioneer and be the leader just to be able to carry that vision.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean you won't. I mean, you may have, God may call you out and then you're starting your own nonprofit, and that's awesome. But at the same time, you would be looking for a nonprofit that's in that specific area that has already been leading that way for you to join.
Yeah. I know you have more questions, but I kind of want to piggyback on that because this whole year, as we're diving in here in 2026 with becoming a vision carrier, one of the things that I know people ask too is, how do you even know what the vision is that God has for you? And you just basically said it, like, you need to look at your life and how Jesus saved you. And what did he save you from? And when Jesus saved you and you got set free, recognize that you actually gained an authority in that area of your life because there was healing from the mighty God, our Savior and Lord Jesus. And you gained authority and empowerment in the Holy Spirit at that moment. And there, of course, healing is a process, but as you are walking a healing process with the Lord, you're gaining more and more authority in that area of your life. And then you get to bring that authority to others that have gone through something very similar that you got set free from. And you get to show those people how to get set free too, because you get to lead them to Jesus. And so when you're thinking about a vision you're going to carry, you can ask yourself that. What did Jesus save me from? How did I get set free? And what is the authority I carry now from that freedom that the Lord has given me so I can actually go to others and help them also get set free? And that's, our hearts burn there, right? When we have tasted freedom that comes from only Jesus, like, there's a spark lit in our heart. And boom, it connects us to vision in God's heart. And we get to do vision in many different streams of life and a variety of people that all of them need to know the Lord and his freedom and how he saved us. And then your heart just burns to see these people get set free too. And then you're like, oh, maybe it's, for us, it was young adults and youth, because that's when we were set free. But for others, it may be people from a certain nation that it just, this vision just gets lit in their hearts because it connects to how they got saved and set free and gained authority from the Lord. So I just wanted to share that. Yeah.
Well, I think we can land it. I think I'll just ask one question. To leave people with hope, I would want to ask this. What would you say to people who feel stuck between promise and fulfillment in these visions?
Sure.
Like almost like they have been doing the work, but they're just not seeing fruit or not necessarily seeing like God working.
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
You can go.
Okay. First, I just would say point blank, do not give up, because God, if he dropped a vision and a dream in your heart, and it's his vision and dream, truly, then he will direct your steps and he will make a way for it to happen. I do believe there's process. I believe that God takes us, he takes his time. He takes his time with us to ready our hearts and our minds, to refine our hearts, to build character in our lives. He doesn't just drop a vision and say, tomorrow you're going to go do this. I mean, that does happen here and there. But the truth is, the bigger the vision is, the more equipped you need to be. And if you have not seen the fulfillment of a promise that you believe the Lord has put in your heart, a vision truly that you're to carry, then I would say start with prayer. I'm going to go back to that again. And this is probably the third time I've said prayer. Start with prayer. Prayer precedes everything. Just keep bringing the vision that you believe you heard from the Lord to Jesus and pray into it and pray into it again and pray into it again and pray into it again. Just pray without ceasing, like the Bible says. And then, honestly, like there's a point that we can also take action ourselves. And vision, like if there's something that we need to do on our part, and as we're praying, we should ask God that. Okay, what are some steps, first steps I can take to actually start the process of carrying this vision? Jesus, is there something on my side of things over here that I should be doing? And don't be surprised when you actually start to see, like, whether it's even another person who carries a vision that's similar to what you feel is in your heart, then you go serve them. And I think I've said that before in a past episode, like, go serve somebody else's vision that's similar to your vision. It might not be exactly the same, but I guarantee you're going to go learn a lot. You're going to learn a lot from those people that are already carrying vision that's similar to yours. And that's always a great starting point, and it's serving the Lord. Like, look where you can go start serving other people. And don't be surprised too if God just starts to reveal even the gifts that you carry, and then you get to start using those gifts and practice the gifts that are in you. And so I would say those are some starting points for sure in the middle of not seeing the fulfillment of promise yet. Yes.
You know, I think about it a lot differently. I think from promise to fulfillment, I would kind of look at it from a point of view of sometimes it's how you define success, and then what is the lie behind that, right? So does God define success the way you define success in your head? So I mean, I think it's all going to come back to an identity issue that you've defined success to be a certain way. Instead of defining success, and I remember, I mean, often Rachel and I would just look at each other, and yes, the camp, as you guys know, isn't here anymore. So was that a failure? And so therefore, from that failure, we should give up. And because the only way to define success would have been if it's keeping going on, and it's on for generations to come. Or was the journey worth it in and of itself? And was that journey, the whole purpose of the journey was to bring us closer to the Lord? So depends on how you're defined. How could you ever, in my opinion, not be in fulfillment if the whole journey is about getting closer to God and following Him?
Yeah.
So like less about success and more just about obedience.
Yeah.
Well, you said, I mean, again, obedience, it still feels, I mean, yes, I think obedience is the thing, but it's also the identity. The identity is, how are we not, if you're following the God-given dream, and yes, you have hurdles and you have these things, it's about how you take those things and allow them to define you. And yes, I think it's obedience, but I think it's actually more about the identity of how, hey, there's nothing that you're going to do that's going to come back void.
Yeah.
There's no way as you're doing this, and again, it's how you define it. Like, again, the camp closed. We could look at that and say that's a failure, and therefore we didn't learn. But no, the answer is that we learned a decade of wisdom, and we learned how to get closer to God amidst all these different things. Like, if you said to me, hey, if you knew it was going to close, would you have ever started it? The answer would be, Rachel and I have no regrets.
Right.
It was a beautiful journey with the Lord. So again, it's all in how I think it's all in how you define it. You call it obedience. I don't think I'd call it obedience as much as really just being so solid that the journey is worth it. Like that, no one can take that away from you.
Right.
Like again, goes back to, you're not working. This isn't work. This isn't supposed to be work. It's your passion. It's who God's made you to be. It's in an area that you have freedom in your own life, and you want to bring it to others. Yes, it may not look the way you want it to always look. That I can agree with. But then you have to say, well, who determined what it was supposed to look like? Yeah. And and then again, are we trying to gauge it on a worldly side? Well, I didn't hit the numbers. Rachel and I only had X number of campers. We didn't hit the numbers of Hume Lakes of, 5,000, a summer?
per week.
Per week? Does that make sense? And I'm like,
I think we had about 5,000 most of the whole time that we ran the camp. Yeah, and I just to like finish up too, to follow up with that, I just really, for us, like carrying the vision of the station when it was a camp for 10 years, I want to just reiterate, like, we have no regrets. Like, when the Forest Service sold the land, like, and we couldn't stay anymore, like, all I could think was, even though I was so sad that the camp closed, all I could think was, wow, what an adventure that I went on with God. And so if for people that are carrying vision and they're not seeing the fulfillment, like, there's still vision you've probably maybe not recognized in your life that you've already carried too. Mm-hmm. And then you can look back at your life and be like, actually, I did carry that for a year or two. And the Lord must have dropped that in my heart. And, you know, you could look back at those types of things and think about, and what was God teaching me in that season while I carried that vision? And then where was he working on my character? Where was he refining me? Where was he shoring me up and giving me more confidence and boldness and strength in my heart and my mind? And so for us, like, even though now we're in this new vision for the station, right? And we should probably finish it with that. In Raising Foundations, Releasing Dreams, it's so beautiful. We couldn't even do this new season of the station this past 3 years and going forward if we hadn't gone through the 10 years of carrying the vision, how it looked then, so that we could even be ready and equipped to carry the vision now and where it's going with the station in the future. The vision is so much bigger now. Like, it was big to start a camp from scratch, right? And then run it for 10 years. But where we're going now with a mentorship with young adults and also mentoring ministry leaders and their teams, different groups across the globe. And then on top of it, someday we're hoping to have a foundation that resources ministries across the globe. And then on top of it, have another retreat center where we will run camps out of, like a property. We're dreaming of these things. This is much bigger vision now. But if we hadn't actually gone through what we went through for 10 years in running the camp, gone through our boot camp, the character building, the refinement, the perseverance and resilience that God cultivated in our lives and in our family, and even just learning how to lead people well too, and disciple people well, if we hadn't learned all of that, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing today in the vision we're carrying today. So even for those people that are waiting for fulfillment of promise or try and understand more clarity in the vision God's asked you to carry, and you're just waiting, there's always something God's doing and to ready us for what is going to come. And so I think it's so important to sit in the presence of God, to pray, to get really aware and intentional in your life, to really recognize the season you're in with the Lord as you're becoming a vision carrier. And our hope for all of you as we venture into more topics about carrying vision is that you'll gain some really gold nuggets, some wisdom over this 2026 year of the Station podcast that you can just utilize in your own life and gain some wisdom, some equipping as you listen to our podcast. And we just want to leave you with hope today. God has purpose. He has great plans for your life. He has very clear vision. And even if you're not hearing right now, even if you're waiting right now and you're not 100% sure where you're going, don't worry. God's going to show you. He's going to show you. And he will fulfill promises. And he will fulfill a clear vision and plan for your life. He has established steps. The Bible says that in Proverbs, that he's already established our steps. He's already written the story of your life in your mother's womb. So he will show you when the page needs to turn, when the next chapter needs to come. Just draw near to Jesus. He promises to. He will draw near to you. So we just want to leave you with that hope today. Any other thoughts, Michelle?
Nope.
Okay. Thanks for joining us for the first episode of 2026. And we're excited for the next guest. And we'll be sharing more about that guest on our social media soon. Take care. Have a great day.
Bye. Thank you for joining us for the Station podcast. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Station Corp. or follow us on Instagram at The Station Corp and at The Station Camp. If you'd like to email us, our email is info@thestationcorp.com.